Hey everybody, welcome to Monday Night Live in Lexington, you guys.
First of all, thank you all for being here as well. My name is Rachel Harrison. I'm an adult programming coordinator. Kathryn Kauffman. Miss Kathryn Kauffman, all the way from Lexington, joining us here tonight.
My name is Kathryn Kauffman, and I'm a psychic medium here in Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome to my every Monday night show. This is where we look at what and who we are in this journey called life. Great to have you here with me on a Monday night. Hey to all you guys over here on Instagram, welcome. And to all you guys that are joining on Facebook. Tonight, what we're going to look at is this. Don't buy a haunted house. This is part 2. So if you missed part 1, you can pick that up on my YouTube channel. It is loaded up on the YouTube channel. If you visit the YouTube channel, I'd ask you to subscribe and share any of the videos that you think might be beneficial to your friends and family. Give them a like, if you will. And follow me on Facebook, where you can get all of the new stuff that I'm coming out with every week. Hey to Wendy Dixon and Paige Denise over here on Instagram. Good to see you guys on a Monday night. Special shout out to Joy Hall, my Monday night buddy on Instagram. Good to see you here. And I'm going to do a wave to you and my lovely husband, David. Speaking of my lovely husband, David, I got to do a shout out to my granddaughter, Brooklyn, Lawrence, and David. This is how busy things have been. They got me these beautiful, wonderful roses. Let me get this out of the way so you can see them. Aren't they beautiful? And actually, my granddaughter picked them out for me. But things have been so busy that they got them yesterday, and I just now noticed them today right before the show. Isn't that awful? It's too busy. But I'm going to leave those right here in the corner of Instagram so that you guys can enjoy those. Good to see you guys here on a Monday night. A little bit of housekeeping. August the 1st is going to be the first aired episode of the podcast, Sage in August. And I will be interviewed by Melissa Newman. And so I would really like for you all to tune in to the podcast and show your support. The website is sageinaugust.com. And in that kind of thing, let me go over some of the stuff that you can get in the podcast here. Let me move these flowers where you can see a little bit of me. So things I'll be going over is where I grew up, which is not anywhere that you would know. Trust me. Where I grew up was a mile-wide island in the North Pacific, and if you want to find out details, you've got to tune into the podcast. How my mother dealt with my psychic abilities. Poor thing. What my first career was, how I advanced in my life to what I'm doing now. Deathbed experiences from the ICU. You get to hear all about that. You get to hear about how David and I met. And there's just a whole lot of other really interesting stuff. And you're going to get a sneak peek about David's abilities and what all he can do. And so do tune in to the podcast, sageinaugust.com, and give it a listen on August the 1st. So let's do some more quick shout outs here on Facebook. Taya Moore, good to see you. Richie Gambrel, love you too. Mitzi, Barbara Bacon, special shout out to Barbara Bacon and Crystal Crazy. Thank you, Barbara, for taking care of me and Brooke today. We went out and did some crystal shopping there, and I came home with some. Let's see, what all did I get? I got some agate and some shungite and a really beautiful celestial crystal. I should have brought them down here with me to show you guys. And some red coral. Now, you hardly ever will get to see real red coral. There's a lot of it on the market that's dyed, but this is real red coral. So she definitely has a few pieces right now that were just stunning. And thank you, Barbara, for helping us today. Special shout out to Sheila and Helen Drinkwater, and shout out and lots of healing to Rob Abbott. Awesome to see you guys here. So last week we looked at Don't Buy a Haunted House Part 1. Today we're looking at Don't Buy a Haunted House Part 2. And like I said, if you missed Part 1 and you need to watch it, I'm going to leave a link to the links that I'm going to leave in the comments after the show are the link to the podcast for sageandaugust.com. I will leave a link to the YouTube channel if you want to subscribe and hit the like and share the videos and watch last week's Part 1. I will put the link to the YouTube channel in the comments. And special shout out to Melissa Begley and her sidekick, Miss Cleo. Big kisses to you guys. And let's see. Lee Wiggins, hey, I'll leave a link, Lee, to the website in the comments, and that way you can go on the online scheduler and look at what's convenient for you. And also, Lee, you may want to go to the YouTube channel and go to my YouTube channel in the playlist Monday Night Live. There will be a couple of videos that you need to watch. One is Dreams About the Dead and Visitations. Okay. And the other one is Why Are Spirits Still Here in This Realm? And those are really good videos to watch for anybody who's lost somebody recently. But now on to our topic. So Don't Buy a Haunted House Part 2. Now, there are people that want to buy a haunted house, and there are people who have a lot of abilities like me, and they can make any house that they live in haunted. Okay, because stuff is just naturally attracted to you, and it just kind of sticks to you like glue. So it doesn't matter where you go, there's going to be activity. So in that case, I do have it's kind of a webinar PDF teaching on advanced psychic protection. And those are techniques that I utilize to keep my home comfortable for me, because otherwise there would be so much activity, I could never get any sleep or any rest. So if you're a person like that, have a lot of abilities that, things are bothering you at night, private message me, and we'll see about getting you the webinar copy and the PDF. I think it's $30 for both. And so you get a downloadable PDF, and you get a link to the online webinar video that we did. It's really good. Hey to Chastity. Good to see you here. All right. Don't Buy a Haunted House Part 2. So the Part 1 was kind of assessing the property, the research that goes into the area, what is the history of the area? What's the history of the house? Let's see, what else did we go over last week? Let me just kind of hit on a couple things. Research general area, check for graveyards, old stones. Are they in a pattern in the yard? Are there any abandoned places near there? Like, for example, you would not want to buy property near Waverly Hills, especially if you have a lot of abilities. That would just not be a grand idea. It's also not a good idea to have the property too closely located to nursing homes, funeral homes, hospitals, places where there's a lot of spiritual portals that are open where people are coming and going through this dimension. Places where there's been a historical battle. That's not a good place for you to buy property unless you really want activity and you want to live in a haunted house. So Rob says, yes, the story of my life, like a magnet. Spiritual cleansing is a necessity. Florida water and words. Yes, absolutely, Rob. We have to live by those, don't we, every day? Another thing that people don't realize is not a great idea to have property. If you don't want spiritual activity or you don't want any place that's haunted, don't get a place close to an abandoned mine or cave. That's just not a good idea. And I explain why in part 1. Another thing I look for, and when I'm assessing property for spiritual activity, is, nearby water sources like stream or lake or pond or something like that. And also another big one is electrical transformers or substations, because they can really bump up that electrical activity and cause a lot of manifestations that may not, really be accurate. So after you've done the research on the property and everything looks good, we go on to the next part. So Richie says, I've only been to Waverly Hills 2 times, never went back thanks to you. I get a lot of people that come to me after going to places like Waverly or going on ghost hunts, and then inevitably, if they have abilities or if their energy is very attractive to spiritual entities, they will drag stuff home with them. And then we have to work together to try and remove that or get rid of it or extricate it from the home. So it can be a process. So Richie is right. Not really good places to go. Okay, so after you've done your research and you feel comfortable with the area that you're assessing, either for a lease or for a purchase, then you can proceed to do a general search for the home in that area that you've assessed the history in. And I usually suggest that people use a pendulum to assess the area that they're considering moving to, because it will really show what the best area for your energy is. And you can do this very easily over a map. So what you want to do is you do your historical research, you gather your data on the general area, and then you take your pendulum and you douse over the map of that general area. And what you want to ask is this a good area for me? Yes or no? Is this a good area for me? Yes or no? Is this a good area for me? Yes or no? You may get 3 or 4 yeses and then the rest no. And then what you do is you take the 3 or 4 yeses and you douse again and you ask, is this one the best area of the 3 or 4 for my energy? Is this the best area out of the 3 or 4 for my energy? And that's going to narrow it down even further to where you need to look. I hope that helps. That's just a little handy hint to help. Hey to Shannon Pate Miller. Awesome, you're a magnet lately. I almost had another paranormal alert last night. I post a paranormal alert on Facebook when I get 3 complaints of paranormal activity within a 24-hour period. We had 2, and I was thinking there might be another one before morning. Sometimes I'll count myself if there's activity around here, and sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'm thinking, maybe I shouldn't count myself in there because there's always activity here at my house. So, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. It depends on what the complaints are about. If mine's pretty prominent and it's matching the other 2, then I'll go ahead and count myself in there. So Rob says, does the type of pendulum specifically matter, such as wood versus stone? Actually, Rob, I think that the gemstones are the best, especially for topics involving the earth, because the substrate is similar. And wood seems to be a different type of energy. But of course, you can dowse with anything. Like you can put a wedding ring on the end of a string and dowse with that. But Barb has some really cool pendulums at Crystal Crazy. If any of you are interested in getting a really good pendulum that's gemstone quality, try Crystal Crazy for sure. So dowsing over a map will reveal the best energy of the area for you to narrow down where you want to look for property or lease property. Now, here's another thing. When you start to work with a realtor or real estate agent, specifically ask them, have there been any deaths on the property or in the home? Now, that's different because you can still get a haunting if there was a death on the property, not necessarily in the home. So you're going to ask, were there any deaths on the property or in the home? And make sure they understand what you're asking. You're asking for the history of the property and the home structure. Okay, then you're going to ask about specifically any suicides or any murders. Okay. And if they say they don't know, ask them to research and find out with the property owner. Okay. Big, big, big important to ask those kind of things. Hey to all you guys over here on Instagram. I'm going to do a couple of waves. Glad to see you guys here. Shell and Shine, DJ Mill 2. Good to see you. And if you guys have any questions on Instagram, just try and type them in the comments and I'll try and look for them because sometimes the feed goes fast and I don't get to see everything. Also, another thing you want to work with your real estate agent on is specifically asking if any other tenants or owners have ever complained or moved out of the property because of paranormal activity. Very good. I have heard time after time after time about people who move into a property and things have been hidden from them, and then they get into the property and find out it is just like a total nightmare and no one ever gets any sleep. No one's comfortable in the home. Your home is supposed to be your area of relaxation and it's supposed to be a refuge for you. And I cannot imagine spending that much money and having all these dreams just to be dashed on the rocks by an entity that doesn't want you there. So that's just the saddest thing in the world to me. Now, if there's time for a historical search of the property, a couple of places that you can look in history. You can also look in your PVA office, which is the Property Value Administration office. Another thing that might clue you in, and it might kind of show that there may be a problem with the property, is if you go to the PVA office and you see that there have been more than 10 owners of a property, depending on how old the property is, like if it's a property from the 1700s, that may not be applicable. But let's say the house was built in 1980 and it's had more than 10 owners, that may be an indicator that, nobody wants to live there. There might be a reason why no one wants to live there, So a lot of turnover in owners or leasing. If you are going to lease a property, ask the leasing agent how many people have leased this property in the last 5 years. And if you get an astronomical number, a number that really stands out, because usually when people lease a property, they may stay 1 or 2 years. That's kind of typical, especially if it's, a property that It has a good turnover. But if you're finding that there are people that are leasing that property and moving out every 6 months consistently, there's some kind of problem there. So, Andrea wants to know something's definitely wrong at that point. Yeah, you know it. You know it. Absolutely. So the next step is you're going to arrange to view the home. Okay. And this is going to surprise you when I tell you this. But the best time to go is when it's raining or overcast. Now, think about that for a minute and see how you feel about that. The best time to go and view a property is not when it's sunny, but when it's raining and overcast. Now, why would that be? Let's think about that for a minute. Not only if it's raining, you're going to pick up on, floods, leaks, that kind of thing. But here's something you haven't thought about is what you want to do is be aware of any kind of light anomalies that you might see. Light anomalies that you might see or capture on camera. They're the easiest to detect in a muted light setting, which is raining or overcast. If you have a really bright sunny day, that light is going to obliterate whatever light anomaly might show itself there, and you would never pick up on that. So the next step that you do is to have a really good digital camera or use your camera phone, and you're going to take pictures from 3 angles in each room of the home, each major room. Like, you don't necessarily have to take a picture of the bathroom, although I always recommend that you do the bathroom because a lot of people die in the bathroom. Well, they get sick and they feel sick and they try to get to the bathroom. They'll either die on the way to the bathroom or right when they get in the bathroom. So I always suggest that people take 3 angles of the bathroom. But like closets, you don't need to take a picture of the closet unless you just really want to. But at least 3 different angles of each major room in the home with this muted light setting. And then if you do pick up on any light anomalies, just to make sure you're not freaking out over dust, because you don't want to miss out on a really good property if it's just dust. And I do this for a lot of people. It's a nominal charge, and they send me all of their photos, and I evaluate all the photos to see if I detect anything that might be a problem. And so that's one of the services that I do provide for people that are looking to lease or looking to buy. So, yeah, you don't want to freak out over dust and lose out on something really good. Now, also, you could possibly pick up on an apparition, in this muted light setting. You might get a reflection in a mirror or a window of something that could be a problem. So, taking your digital camera and your cell phone when you do your walkthrough is extremely beneficial, and it absolutely needs to be done if you think there could be a problem with the property. So you want to take the picture from 3 different angles to make sure that you are covering all of the energy of the room. Another thing is when you evaluate those pictures, you want to evaluate them first and blow them up on your computer screen to make sure that you're not going to miss anything. But you also want to have someone else look at those pictures and evaluate them, because there's a lot of things that you might miss that somebody might pick up on. And so always have a second pair of eyes look at those pictures to evaluate them, because they can maybe see something that you don't see. The next thing is, if there's a really heavy feeling in one of the rooms, you can take a little audio recorder, or you can download an audio recording app on your phone and use that. and you want to try and attempt an EVP and see if there are any EVPs that you can pick up on, and if there may be something concerning in the recording. So there may be things that you could pick up on in an EVP that would tell you what this heavy, really heavy feeling in the room is. Let's check for questions here. So Helen says, so much to think about, great info. Yes, I mean, I suggest anybody who's thinking about leasing or thinking about buying property to do these things, especially if you want a calm, serene property. Now, there are people who like activity and they want it, and you wouldn't have to do any of this stuff. Although you may want to do it just to make sure that you have an entity there. And there are those people out there that want, they want activity. So download that recording app and see if you can capture an EVP. Now, when you're doing EVPs, please remember when you ask a question, well, first off, when you're doing the EVP, make sure there's no background noise. So if you're trying to do an EVP and you're with a realtor, you're with another person, make sure that they can stay quiet for about 5 to 10 minutes and not talk, or maybe go on the other side of the house and ask your question, and then make sure that you wait at least 2 minutes for the response. Okay. Then when you go back to evaluate your EVPs, put a set of headphones on or earbuds to listen to the EVP recording, because there will be things that you will miss if you're not plugged in and listening very carefully. And make sure and listen to the full recording, because there could be things at the end of it that you may miss. So don't just skip through it, but listen to it very carefully all the way through. So Melissa says, 2 times I've captured spirits on my iPhone camera. Neither time was it a deliberate attempt. One, not a nice spirit. Yeah, Melissa, you are right. Anytime you get a heavy feeling, or you have a feeling that a gut feeling that something might be there, you're going to pick up your camera on your phone and hit that video record, and then you want to pan very, very slowly through the room. Don't do it fast, because you're going to miss something, but do it really, really slowly. Go from one side to the other, and then go and evaluate those. Now, if you don't want to take the picture of 3 angles, you can just do a panoramic video of the room, like a really slow sweep, to see if you pick up on anything. But just in my experience, I have found that sometimes people will get a picture more easily of an orb or light anomaly than they will on the video. But once they get it on video, it's like really good video. So you either hit or you completely miss. So Melissa says, family member's house, beautiful spirit in the bedroom. Oh gosh. If, anytime you guys want to share a picture like that, go ahead and post them in the comments. We would all love to see that type of picture, because it kind of gives us a reference on what we should do or what we should look for. So it can be really helpful if you guys want to share with each other a picture or a small video or something. So here's the the last thing I want to address is a lot of historical old properties need to be evaluated for old graveyards. And sometimes in the old plot, on the PVA plots, it will show the graveyards. And so a lot of properties, they're sold and the headstones are moved, but the caskets aren't. And if there's an old plot that has a graveyard listed on it, that could be a problem that you need to know about. that could be significant, because you can't be sure that the actual body's removed. And like we went over in part 1 last week, when ground is consecrated for the dead, it really is not habitable for living people, because the energy is totally doesn't, it's not congruent with living energy. And so, number one, the spirits that are there want that plot that was consecrated for them. And number two, the energy is so overwhelmingly dead energy that it can really cause a lot of health problems for living people that are trying to inhabit the home or the property. So Shannon says, my granddaughter saw the same moving light orb outside the other day, and she asked me about it. So nice to know, Shannon. Here's the thing I want to ask. What time of day did they see it? And can they point out exactly where it was? So the next thing that you could do, Shannon, is try to do a video or several camera angles and pictures at that time of day in that spot and see if you get anything. Because once something apparates like that, sorry, allergies are bad. Once something apparates like that, it's usually the same time of day in the same spot that it's going to show itself. Hey to Laura, Jill, Eliza, good to see you. Awesome to see you. And special shout out to the rest of the people over here on Instagram that are joining. Awesome to see you guys here. So let's see what Shannon says. Anyway, don't forget that if you're wanting to get property, if you're wanting to lease, and you're really concerned about having a safe, calm environment, you can, for a nominal fee, you can send me all your pictures and your videos, and I'll evaluate them. All you have to do is text me to 859-327-9305 and let me know that that's what you want, and I'll give you an email link to follow. And so that's it for tonight. Kisses from Kentucky, and I will see you next week.